Hey, good morning. Happy Thursday. So I have quite a few DMs asking me what my take on this whole Alvin Bragg, Donald Trump trial and what my take is going to be. So here's my take on this whole thing. Number one, you would be far pressed to find anybody in the state of New York that has not heard of Donald Trump and or know what's going on in this world, because the media's constant prattling and obsession about him. So do I think he's going to get a fair trial in New York? Of course he's not going to get a fair trial in New York. There's not a person in New York that doesn't understand what's going on in this whole case. Number two, Alvin Bragg took this from a misdemeanor and turned it into a felony because the time had ran out. Probably while New York is raging out of control, where he has downgraded felonies to misdemeanors over and over and over again. This is 100% Joe Biden and the Democrat Party trying to take out Donald Trump. This and many other things. Stormy Daniels also still owes Donald Trump $300,000 because she lost a defamation lawsuit against him. She has also denied that there was ever kind of an affair. Number three, this all comes down to Michael Cohen. And I'm sure you guys know who Michael Cohen is. He's the guy that sits on TikTok live all day, obsessing over Donald Trump, disgraced and disbarred, and by other judges called a habitual liar. Okay? I'm sure you see him sitting on this app all day long, obsessing about Donald Trump. And he is. Okay? This is not going to go, I think personally, the way the Democrats think it's going to go. But this is what I would like you more to concentrate on. This is the federal government flexing their muscles against Donald Trump. And think about this for a second. Donald Trump has always said this. In reality, they're not just coming after me, they're coming after you, and I'm just standing in their way. If they could do something like this, which take a bogus misdemeanor payment from a client to his lawyer, okay, because that's what that check was, and they can turn this into this hoopla media circus trial where they're just trying to get Donald Trump at all costs to get him off the campaign trail. They want him to sit in court all day long. We already know all of this, okay? But the worst part of this is, if they could do that to someone who's probably one of the rich, most powerful men in this country, what do you think they would do to you or a member of your family? This is the government 100% flexing their muscles against Donald Trump because they know that he's winning this next election. You see where Joe Biden out on the trail the other day, people were cheering and basically saying, hey ho, Bidenomics has got to go. There's no lining of the streets. There's no filled auditoriums. It's fuck Joe Biden signs everywhere he goes. And when you see Donald Trump's rallies, it is filled to the brim with people. The streets are lined because America is standing with Donald Trump. And at this point, I almost look like it's us against our corrupt government. I always say it's good and evil on the ballot this November, and you better choose wisely because this is probably going to be the most important election I think we've seen in a very, very long time, because you literally have good and evil. You have corrupt career politicians on one side who have done everything to destroy this country while pointing their collective fingers at Donald Trump and blaming him for all of the bad that has happened since Donald Trump left office. And then they're the ones who have caused all of this 50-year high inflation, 23-year high interest rates. People can't afford housing. They can't afford rent. They can't afford health care. They have flooded this country with 20 million people that have now committed crimes and are squatting in people's houses where the law is written to protect them. You have corrupt DAs and corrupt judges. So all of this is when I say good and evil are on the ballot this come November, because this is what they can do this to him. What do you think they could do to you or a member of your family? That's what I'm going to say. This is the federal government basically saying you're going to do what we want or else, because this case should never have gotten to this point. His previous DAs said this wasn't even a punishable thing. They didn't even bother with it. It wasn't even worth the shot. And all of this is all coming down to a man, Michael Cohen, who has been disbarred and imprisoned for lying, okay? Donald Trump hasn't, but Michael Cohen has. And he sits on this app, like I said, all night long, obsessing about Donald Trump. But this is the federal government attacking a U.S. citizen, a leading presidential nominee and candidate, who is probably polling higher than he's ever polled before. Everywhere you see Joe Biden goes, I mean, people are chanting, fuck Joe Biden, let's go Brandon, there's no crowds. This is Joe Biden and the Democrat Party trying to take Donald Trump off of the campaign trail. And it's not working because America is standing with Donald Trump. You're going to see the same left-wing nut jobs sitting on this app all day long in their lives, obsessing about Donald Trump. And they ask you to come on and talk to them, but they won't, because the minute you start presenting them facts, they just start yelling over you and rolling their eyes. I see it on here all the time. So it's more of a question of the federal government flexing their muscles, trying to take out Donald Trump. Because that's what this is. This case should have never seen the day of light. Stormy Daniels has absolutely denied there was any kind of an affair or any of that kind of stuff. And it just goes to show you that, and I will say it once and I will say it again, if they could do this to him, what do you think they would do to you and your family if you stepped out of line or disagreed with something? The Democrat Party have absolutely destroyed this country in a matter of 3.5 years. They have caused so many problems. And the entire time that they're causing these problems, they are pointing the collective finger at Donald Trump like it is somehow his fault. Meanwhile, you got Joe Biden on camera yesterday talking about how his uncle was shot down and they never found the body because there were cannibals in the area. Like, what? And that's on film for all you liberals who go, that's happened. It's on film. Him literally saying that. And in reality, that wasn't the case at all. Joe Biden has got dementia, and it is obvious at this point. And for those who want to sit back and say that he's just this top candidate, spiff old tough grandpa, you are absolutely lying to yourself, and you know it, okay? Because this man clearly has cognitive issues. So because of your loathing hatred of Donald Trump, you want to, get Donald Trump, he's got to go to jail. Yeah, no one's above the law. Meanwhile, we have absolute proof that Joe Biden has absolutely sold out America for his family and for himself to enrich it. I will say it once and I will say it again. This election is so important because you have good and you have evil. You have career corrupt politicians that continue to get rich off of our backs while funneling proxy war and proxy war and proxy war. Meanwhile, making it completely unaffordable for Americans to even survive. But, we got to fund Ukraine while Americans continue to slide into recession. So this is the federal government, and I really feel like at this point, it's a war. It's a war between we the people and the federal government. We've seen time and time again where left-leaning and Democrat people can go and stop traffic and hold up people on bridges for 5 hours, but God forbid anyone on the right ever stand up and say, hey, we're not okay with our government and the bullshit that we've been seeing, and it's months of trials and committees and Liz Cheney and all of that. Good and evil is on the ballot. And if they can do something like this, take a misdemeanor and bring it into a felony because the time ran out on some bullshit case over a disgraced, disbarred, lying lawyer, what do you think they can do to you and your family if you don't toe the line of what they want? I really believe at this point it's a war between us, we the people, and the corrupt career lying politicians that continue to get rich with insider trading and lobbying and PAC money. Or the guy who actually had this country running like a well-oiled machine. Do you want the lower inflation? Do you want lower interest rates? Do you want all these 20 million people that do not belong in this country sent back to the country that they want? Or do you want the senile, feeble old man who tells people his uncle was shot down in a war and eaten by cannibals? Because that's what we're getting, and that is what is on the ballot. So let's wrap this up. This whole case, Donald Trump is not going to get a fair trial in New York. I've even seen the jurors that were sent away. They automatically know that they don't like Donald Trump. So if you think that Donald Trump's going to get a fair jury selection, you are smoking something good because there's no way in hell. And the sad part is Donald Trump did so much for the city of New York, and this is how the city of New York is paying for him. But here's the thing, it's not the people of New York. He showed up in Harlem the other day. The streets were lined with people screaming 4 more years, 4 more years. Make no mistake about it. This is the career Washington politicians trying to take out their political opponent who is winning in every single poll because they know that their guy has got dementia. So good and evil is on the ballot this November. Choose wisely. Good talk.